y'all, and welcome back to my channel, and thank you all for joining me for today's video. I just wanted to come on and do a quick video of my experience at the Model Schools Conference. I don't know if you're a fellow educator like me and you have heard about this conference, but this was my first time attending the Model Schools Conference. This was their 30-year anniversary, and their theme was rigor and relevance and relationships. So it's a model that they have: rigor, relevance, and relationships. And this was so good and so inspiring. As you know, I showed you all in my previous video, I created like a little notebook to take with me. Of course, I DIY'd it, happy planner. But this really helped me to capture all of the things that I learned at the conference. So the opening was amazing. So it's a short conference, it's not long. You have a keynote speaker on a Sunday night, which was 1 hour. And then on Monday and Tuesday, we had sessions every hour starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then we had like an hour and a half lunch break. There's a 30-minute window between getting from one session to the next session. So in one day, I attended like 5 sessions. So I had 5 sessions to attend Monday, 5 sessions to attend on Tuesday, and then Wednesday I had 3 sessions to attend to, and then the conference was done. And so this was just like, I can't even really put or articulate into words how helpful this was, but I'll just let you guys know some of the things that I was interested in seeing and learning more about that helped me. I went to one session about closing the reading and achievement gap, where I learned about a program called Amira, which is a one-to-one intervention online plan for students to help them become stronger and better readers. If anybody has ever heard about that, definitely let me know. My principal went to it. So we are all interested in learning if we can use this program to help our students. So that was one I went to. I went to another one called Teaching with Focus and Flexibility, which taught me about working as a team and thinking about my curriculum as, you know, my grade level team, thinking about it in a different way, where I'm teaching and assessing, and then assessing again and then repeating. So that is something that I want to get better at, because normally we wait until kind of like a little bit. I assess on every Friday. I do assess, but they just talked about doing a little bit more in-depth assessment, and to prioritize our framework and look at the standards that are most important, and then look at the supporting standards that go underneath it. But I like our new curriculum anyway. It's kind of like a spiral down, where we talk about, say for instance, we're talking about key details. So we'll talk about key details for like maybe like 2 months or whatever. And then we have a unit assessment like at the end of maybe like 5 weeks or so. So I don't really want to wait until then. I want to try to really get a good assessment on them, like weekly or even like daily, trying to like find a little way to assess. So I got some things about that. And they also talked about making the assignments more rigorous. So I went to a session about that in the zone: lessons on learner engagement, relationships, rigor, and relevance. And it was just learning how to move the students into where they say this quad D, which is more where the students are actively thinking and working together as a team with their own knowledge, and me just guiding as a facilitator, which can seem kind of hard to do for kindergartners, but I know that it's definitely possible if you look at things and give them questions and assignments that are on their level, but you do definitely have to build a lot of background knowledge for them so that they can understand, you know, how to do it. And they gave me a rigor rubric to use, which I'm so ecstatic about, because I will be using that every time I plan my lessons to make sure I have enough rigor in my assignments. So I went to another session called Re-Energize Your Lesson Plans. And this one was so good because this one talked about just kind of making your lesson plans more fun and engaging and exciting. So I got a lot of ideas on that, where it's not just, you know, just all throughout the lesson, just making it more engaging. Now, I know a lot of people do like transformations and things in their classroom to kind of make things more engaging for the students, but you don't have to go through and do like a whole transformation. You can find some other little things for students to do just to make it more engaging, like maybe if you're working on shapes or something, having them just, you know, build a shape or something like that that makes them more, you know, engaged with their learning. But then there was one key thing that they talked about with this lesson plan, and that was, how will I know the students have learned? How will I know the students have learned? And that is, you know, traditionally, that is just like going by the standard when they've met the standard, but looking at it in a different way, like, I know they have learned this, whatever skill, because they have produced this, whether it is in their thinking, whether it's something physical that they have produced, or in my observation. So it's given me like a lot of different things to think about. And then she also talked about unit planning, so to build your lessons around a theme or a unit, and that will also make it more engaging. This one was by far my favorite one that I went to, called Problems Are a Gift, which really helped me to think about those students that I have that have some challenges, and how I can use SEL, social emotional learning, to help them calm down and help them with, you know, their emotions, and being able to display them in a more positive way and think through them. She talked about how you don't want the safe space to be like a timeout place, but you do want it to be a place where it's structured and where they, you know, have rules and guidelines as to why they're there. And it's not just for like a timeout for them to just have fun and play with all the cool things that's over there. So they actually have to be working on controlling, you know, their emotions. And I like this thing that she said. She said, discipline means to teach a different way. It's not more so as a punishment or taking something away. It is to teach them a different way to how to react to something or how to respond to something. So she gave a lot of tips and strategies. That's one of the things that I liked about this particular conference, is that each session you go to, they have different handouts, resources that you can print and use on your own. And then I have access to a lot of the recordings because they recorded them, so that I can review them if I need to, in case I miss something. So another one I went to was called Relationship Building, which was really good. How to create a very warm and loving culture and climate for your classroom, and talking about your school-wide expectations and all of those things, how to reach parents more, how to reach your students more, how to really build more relationships with them, which is something that we are really trying to work on. We have a program at our school called Leader in Me, the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. If you're familiar with that, well, they have it at the elementary level. It's called the 7 Habits. And basically letting everyone know that you're a leader, and there's like different, each habit has its own program and things that you can work on, not just only in the classroom, but it also reaches out to the family members and the community at large, so that you all can be, you know, a better culture, a better climate for your classroom. So I got some ideas from that to help me to um, do better help. And so there was a school that gave an example. They said that they use the 3 R's, which is reach, relevant, and relationships. So they reach their parents. They're intentional about all their things. They're intentional with celebrating their staff members and celebrating their students. There was another school that I went to that talked about, they were really big on celebrations, and they were celebrating every achievement. And that is something that I did not think about doing, but celebrating even the smallest thing. Don't wait until, maybe they learned all the letters of the alphabet, but celebrate them when they've learned 2 or they learned 3. Have a big celebration. It doesn't have to be, a celebration where you are actually giving them something, or, they have like an ice cream party or something like that. But it could just be 5-minute celebration in the classroom. We're going to celebrate everybody because we've all learned this or we've all learned that, and how those celebrations will build the students up, build those relationships, and give them encouragement on what they really, need, that motivation to keep on learning. So we also talked about building a strong foundation, which starts with your culture and using the conscious discipline plan, which I've never used before, but I am going to read that book. I know my summer is like almost over, have like about 3.5 weeks left, but I am going to get that book, and I am going to try to run through it and see if I can implement something in my classroom for conscious discipline. So we learned about that. We learned about how play is developmentally appropriate, especially at the lower level, where play now is kind of like, no, we're not playing. So we talked about how the students can learn more through play and through different songs, more than just, lecturing and things like that. So we talked about personalized learning with the students, and how we can get parents involved in more things. So it was a lot, about parent involvement, because I think now, with COVID and all that, we have experienced that parent involvement has been very low. I think parents have, just my personal opinion, they have come to learn that teaching and learning is not as easy as they thought, and that things are difficult, and maybe they just don't know how to help themselves or help their student. And so now they're reluctant to kind of come in. It's almost like an elephant in the room almost, but we want to encourage them to come in. One thing that we, as my team and grade level, that we have talked about doing to get parents more involved and for them to, buy into the learning that's going on, and for them to see exactly what's happening, is for them to come in and watch us teach a class, where a lesson or whatever, for 30 minutes. They would come in and sit in on that session. They would get a handout or whatever we're working on, or if it's a hands-on activity, they would be doing the same things so that they can see what learning is about and how their children are learning, so that they can see and have an opportunity to help their students, because learning has evolved, it's changed, and it's different from when our parents went to school. So that is one thing that we are in the works of doing for our parents. I went to another one called Teach Up, which talked about how the physical environment needs to be inviting and collaborative, and you need to have set rules and expectations in order to really teach well, and how SEL impacts your students, and allow your students to know how they're behaving every single day. Not like not in, I don't even know how to articulate it the way she was saying it, but not in a way that where you were bad or anything like that, but just letting them tell you basically how they think their day went when you fill out your daily behavior chart, instead of you saying this is what you did. Let them have their own self-reflection on how their day went. I thought that was like very, very powerful. She talks about a technique of pausing and then reacting. And then she said, what seeds will you sow into your students? Will you sow into them positive thoughts? Will you sow into them that they are not misbehaving? That yes, maybe they're having some troubles, but they can overcome those things. And then what are you willing to pour into them to nurture them? Those are two guiding questions that stood out to me. And then the last thing that I went to was the last two things were where a principal, he came up with a school-wide rules, and it was like 4 rules, and they were like so simple, and everybody was like, what? But he said, you know, that those just 4 simple rules were specific, they were targeted, and they were understandable and obtainable. And so, you know how they teach us, hey, you got to have your 4 rules, and it'll be like, respect yourselves and respect others. He was like, okay, stop saying that. And I was like, oh my God, that is my rule in my classroom. But he says, after that, you say, this is how you respect yourself and respect others. You keep your hands to yourself, and that. It was like, those are specific rules. The respect yourselves and respect others is just too general. Just be more specific about things or whatever. And then he talks about one very important thing. He used an example where maybe a student is in your classroom and they have a hoodie on and you're teaching, and you just go over to them and say, hey, can you take your hoodie off? And you keep on teaching. They don't, you know, they don't respond. You go back and say, you know, I asked you to, you know, take the hoodie off, and they still don't respond. So then you just go over and say, okay, you're going to be the last one out. And so the last one out, he says, is where if you're transitioning to PE, to another class or whatever, you're the last one out, where you have to stay in the classroom last. And then that gives the teacher an opportunity to speak to that person privately about the situation and let them know, hey, I'm just concerned about you. You know, what's going on? Maybe you've never acted this way before. You know, what's going on, you know, with it or whatever. And so I thought that was very different, and something that I do want to try, because you know, you don't want to single a person out, but you do want to let them know that you care. And then he also talked about, as one of their rules, this was like a discipline, like if you break the rules, this is what's going to happen to you. And everybody in the school followed the same order. And so after that, after you're the last one out, the next one is silent lunch, but the lunch is silent with the teacher. You know how we'll just send them in a different place? No. It's you and the teacher together. And he was like, and then that time you can take the time to talk to that child even more. You know, a lot of teachers was like, what? But I see where he was going with that one. And the last one was Go Big for Culture, which this was the one where they talked about a lot of celebrations. And they talked about one thing in their school: instead of singling out, you know, certain groups of kids who may need, you know, clothing or things like that, they talked about how for Christmas, say, you know, you have kids that need shoes or clothes. Everybody in the school got a new pair of shoes. Everybody in the school got a present for Christmas. And so they do that by involving different people in the community, different sponsors, so that they can provide these things for their community and for their children. And so I thought that was really good. 2 things that I noted that they did, which I thought was awesome. They had a tea party with their parents and family members in the school. And then they also had a photo where there was someone in the community that is a professional photographer, came to the school and did family photos. And I said, what an impact is that? Because a lot of family members don't have family photos. They're just not fortunate. So it's just a simple backdrop. You come with your family and you get a family photo, and they send it to you. I thought that was amazing, because, you know, there's just so many things that we take for granted that we are so fortunate to be able to do, that a lot of our family members are not as fortunate. A lot of the families that, you know, attend our schools are not as fortunate to do. They talked about haircuts, community members coming in, giving haircuts, food pantries, how they had a closet where they can come in and get different toiletries and things like that. So I encourage you all to just really see what the needs are in your community, about, you know, the people around you. We have a survey that we have parents complete, and we have children in the school complete, especially for 4th and 5th graders and 3rd graders who can really articulate needs better. And we use that, you know, so that we can reach out to our community, you know, reach out to those families that attend our schools. So that is what I learned. I'm very energized. I came back from the conference ready to plan, ready to write some of these things down and implement some of these things that I have learned. I am super, super excited. Glad I was able to share some of these and my experience with you all. If you ever get a chance to go to a conference, definitely go to a conference over the summer. It will definitely help you, re-energize you, and get you ready for the next school year. Go ahead and hit that subscription button so that you don't miss my new Teacher Tip Thursday series that I am coming up with. This is not a part of the series. This is just me coming up saying this, but definitely on Thursday, I will have a teacher tip video for you all. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one.